If I was a sound engineer there, I wouldn't necessarily have gone straight in for the you need to rewrite this. Because even though over again is quite boring, if you change the bass to that, then suddenly you have something that's quite cool and interesting, because the guitar part might be the same over and over again, but you're changing the bass. Hey, it's Rob from The Listed. So today I want to tell you about some other work we're doing. So I was asked by a good friend of mine to do a jingle for her podcast. So she's got a podcast in Dubai called Downtown Girls, and she said, could you come up with a jingle for it? She said she'd asked some other people for some music as well, but I thought, no, you're going to use ours. So I got straight to work. So I kind of thought to myself, how am I going to write a jingle? And she said, like, you want something upbeat. So I came up with this as a guitar piece. See what you think of this first. Right, so the reason I've called this video like how to write a jingle is if you want to go and see like really how to write music, I'd say follow someone like Guy Mitchamore. I'm not affiliated with him, I just think he's great at explaining potentially difficult concepts in music. He's amazing. But I want to tell you about like how I came up with this jingle, and how if you write any music yourself, how to make something that seems kind of like, yeah, not too bad, make it more exciting. So many years ago there was an episode of Hark Back, One Tree Hill, and there's a time, I'm not going to say I can remember the band or remember much about this episode. I just remember that the guitarist was playing something like pretty much over and over again, and the sound engineer at the time said, like, you're going to have to rewrite this, like, it's just not good enough. I think the guy walked out, he was just like, whatever guys, I'm off. So didn't take it very well. But I don't think, obviously it's not real. If I was a sound engineer there, I wouldn't necessarily have gone straight in for the you need to rewrite this. Because even though over again is quite boring, if you change the bass to that, then suddenly you have something that's quite cool and interesting, because the guitar part might be the same over and over again, but you're changing the bass. So take Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, the guitar part to that is. If you're a guitarist and you think the guitar's the most important thing, it's very important. I mean, the whole band is important, that's why it's a band and it makes a whole sound together. But there's a reason why there's a whole music genre called drum and bass, where dance music is heavily focused on bass. Synths are great, and they can really add textures, just like the guitars do, and the vocals are very important. Obviously, I'm talking about a jingle here, but when you have a produced track, I'd say that people listen to the vocal 80% of the time. But the bass is the groove of the track. If you have a track, could be the best guitar in the world, here's a little exercise. Take songs that you really like and then make the bass the most boring, make sure it works to the track, but the most boring you can possibly make it, and see how much life that takes out the track. You'll be surprised. However, I see that my argument might be slightly weakened by Metallica, having basically no bass in it. However, generally that's an outlier, and it worked for that track. But most tracks, the bass is superbly important. And to be honest, I always used bass in this way, or when I say always, I mean since I started writing music when I was about 16 or so, properly. But I never really realised how important it was to the groove of a track. So when you're writing something, you could try something really, really simple, but just think about the bass. Think about, okay, because it's all about you think about the root note of something. So if you've got, if you go back to that, so that, obviously quite boring. But if you add a root note to that, so, by the way, this might be painfully simple for a lot of people, but it might help someone, and if it does, then it's worth it. So, right, this could be bass, boom, right? You have bass like that. So, is right here I'm actually coming up with something quite nice, and I'm hoping that it isn't the One Tree Hill theme tune, because I quite like that. So yeah, so there you've had something that sounded really boring and you've made it interesting. Just because it's repetitive, that doesn't matter, because music is all about the repetition. I mean, you can see a TED Talk video on the most, if you like, unrepetitive piece of music in history. They came up with an algorithm so that a piece of music, each note was nothing to do with the last one. So basically was the ugliest piece of music ever written. Of course, you'll be very excited to see what this sounds like. Don't get excited. It's very anticlimactic because it, of course, just, it's not like it sounds like, oh God, it's so horrible. It's just wrong. It just, no. It's just, because it's just not what you want to listen to. You end up going, I don't really want to listen to this anymore. So they achieved the ugliest piece of music ever because you turn it off. Repetition is extremely important. It's, a lot of people define it as the beauty of music. So this is very boring by itself, but when you have that, anyway, enough of me writing a song in front of you, but I will actually turn this into a song. I really like it. So at least you saw it as it happened, I suppose. So you had that, so underneath it is, rather than just, you can have something like that, but you want something that's telling its own story. That's what I call it. So it's like, talking about that, this is a jingle I made. I made it really quickly, but even if it's for a friend, when you've got other people that are wanting the job, I'm doing it. So I got it done in about 5 hours from start to finish. So I mean, I'm sure there's other people that work faster than that, but I've not really made jingles before. So it's something I've just started doing. But yeah, let us know what you think. I hope you enjoy it, even though it's a jingle and not a song. But something exciting for you. Next week we're releasing a cover on YouTube of one of our favourite everything songs, The Wheel in brackets is Turning Now. We can't wait to show you. And finally, about the podcast that I wrote a jingle for. So it's based in Dubai and it's called Downtown Girls. So of course it's aimed at women. If you are a lady that's thinking about going to Dubai on holiday, and especially if you're going to live there, they've just started this podcast, but I'm sure you'll find it very interesting.